Robots Radio presents
Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast.
Hey, I can look at myself naked.
Are you stoned or something?
They tried stoning me, my dear. It did not work.
He likes to create his own sauce.
Well, did you sleep with a man who also slept with Mom and Grandma Catherine?
What? You slept with Dad?
All right. Which one of you sardines called this meat?
Whatever, Major Loser.
Let the party begin!
Hello, and welcome to Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast. The well-meaning, albeit flawed psychologist helping you through your breakdown. That's Chad Eckowitz.
And that's Simone LaRue. Simone, you sounded like such a psychiatrist there. I was like waiting to be asked how I felt. That was intense.
Thanks. That was my goal, to just sound exactly like a stereotypical movie psychologist, in keeping with today's theme.
Exactly. That's beautiful. I mean, as a kid, did you ever want to become a psychologist? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I studied neuroscience. It was always like, a short branch away. But the problem is people.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't want to deal with that. So I was like, I just want to cut out the middleman, look straight at the brain,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we're all honest, we are just giant meat suits for a brain that's kind of controlling everything.
Exactly.
So yeah, it kind of makes sense. Oh God, no. I mean, I wanted to be a doctor, but I wanted to fix people's hearts, not their brains.
Yeah.
The heart is where the jazz is stored, and I'm all about that jazz.
Is this not the most on-brand thing for the both of us?
It really is. I'm really surprised. I mean, let's be fair. A niche week couldn't be more niche. Psychiatry week is like the most niche thing. You'll never find that on any other podcast. We are the first ones, I'm sure, to ever do a psychiatry week.
Soon, but you never know.
I mean, we're the most famous podcast to do a psychiatry week. Let's say it that way.
Fingers crossed.
So, talking about Psychiatry Week, what movies are we doing this week, Simone?
We're doing my favorite thing, which is like deep movies that didn't do well, so I feel too stupid to talk about why they didn't do well, but I'm gonna try. And that is Three Christs and A Million Little Pieces.
Yes. And I think I'm not 100% sure on the scores, but I do believe like Three Christs got somewhere around 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then
I've got it open on Rotten Tomatoes actually.
Oh, nice. I know Million Little Pieces did 27%, which is very.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
Three Christs got 43%.
It was four off. But,
okay. So to decide who goes first, Chad, what are you drinking?
I am drinking your staple university drink, the basic bitch of all drinks. I'm drinking the vodka and Coke.
Oh.
Everyone just has it. It's got no personality. You just drink it because it's easy and you've forgotten what you actually want to drink or that you're embarrassed to actually talk about. So yeah, vodka Coke. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from the brewery that Rudy and I frequent called Ager in Cape Town. It's a lager. It comes in at 5.2%, but because it's so hot today, I'm mixing it with dry lemon to make a beer shandy.
There's nothing better than Oh, yeah. Oh, crack it open.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing sexier than a beer can opening.
Or a champagne bottle popping. I love that sound too. Cork coming out of a bottle, just.
It's genuinely hilarious that we're talking about these things when we're about to take on a movie about
addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do believe you win with the vodka.
Yeah, that is me first. So I will be touching on a million of those little pieces. All right, here we go. The story follows James Frey, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, as he deals with his addiction to alcohol and crack. The film opens with James at a party, doing some pretty heavy drugs. As he goes outside for a cigarette on the balcony, he falls off and plummets to the ground. The next thing we know, he's on a plane. He doesn't know where he's going, but a doctor has booked him a flight to Minnesota. When he arrives, he's met by his brother, played by Charlie Hunnam. He is taking James to a drug rehabilitation facility. James doesn't think he has a problem and so resists the whole time until his brother convinces him to do it for their parents. He continues to fight the whole way through. He doesn't believe in God, and so because Alcoholics Anonymous is basically a faith-based system, he swears it won't work for him. He then argues that it's not a disease but a choice, so he doesn't need the help. Eventually, he makes friends with one of the other patients, Leonard, played by Billy Bob Thornton. James confides in him after some cajoling, and Leonard does the same. Because of Leonard, James decides to stick it through and continue with the program. What follows is James going through the program. He has to get his teeth fixed without any anesthetic because he obviously is a alcoholic and drug user, so he has to do it without any anesthetics. He attends meetings that usually end up... Yeah, that was a fucking heavy scene. And I'll talk about that scene afterwards because I've read the book. I don't know about you.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. He attends meetings, and they usually end with him storming out, and he is often accosted for sex by one of the other patients, John, played by Giovanni Ribisi. After some time, he begins to speak with one of the female patients at the facility, Lily, played by Odessa Young. This is a problem because one of the rules of the facility is that male and female patients aren't allowed to speak together. If you're caught speaking to the patient of an opposite sex, it will lead you to being immediately kicked out of the facility. Lily and James continue to get really close despite the rules. They sneak around and try to steal moments together. They eventually start to fall in love. Unfortunately, one day Lily calls James out because Lily's grandmother is incredibly sick. Lily is battling to make a decision. If she goes to see her grandmother, she knows she'll use again. But if she doesn't go, then she'll never forgive herself. But if she does go, it will be against her grandmother's wishes because she wanted Lily to get clean. She confides all of this in James, and that's when they get caught. The lead counselor gives James one last chance. James pleads with the counselor to give Lily the same chance, but he says that Lily has already left. James decides to go after her because he knows she will use again the second she's on the streets. James eventually finds her, luckily, just before she was about to use again. Back at the facility, Lily is really struggling, but James pleads with her to just keep going. Unfortunately, one night, Lily decides to hang herself and it breaks James's heart. Despite this, he gets clean and finishes the program. The final scene of the film is him entering a bar with his brother. He buys a pint of whiskey, looks at it, sniffs it, and then walks away without drinking a drop. The end.
The end. What's your cliffhanger, Chad?
So it has to be this one, which is where Billy Bob Thornton is just giving his whole fucking life story.
Best character in the whole movie.
He's so lovely, that whole bit as well. And I mean, I can't choose this as my cliffhanger because it's not important enough. But that whole scene where he's talking about where James is like, I'm not going out when you're dressed like that. And Billy Bob is like, these glasses cost a pretty fucking nice car, and there's enough gold in this watch to knock you the fuck out. And he's like, he's great. I love Billy Bob.
Yeah, he was perfect. I really did enjoy the interactions actually between the main character and Billy Bob Thornton's character. That was good.
Yeah, it was really lovely. Look, this film is incredibly touching, I felt. You know, like that. I'm
heartless. You know, I'm the heartless one here. This whole episode is gonna make me look like the bad guy, Chad.
Look, just feel something. I just want you to feel something, you monster.
I felt things like I said, Aaron Taylor Johnson did an amazing job. I think his performance was fantastic. I thought that, like I said, his interactions with Billy Bob Thornton were fantastic. Oh God, what else did I like?
What about Lily? Did you like her as a character? I thought she was great. I think
she was a manic pixie dream girl who only existed in the story to further the male character's story. And the moment that he made progress in his recovery thanks to her, she offs herself, but he's like still fine.
Okay. I thought that he was the manic pixie dream girl in this situation because she was a fucking mess and he was the one to help her out all the time.
No. He didn't help her, Chad. He rescued her.
Oh, okay.
And felt real good about himself because he didn't do drugs while he was rescuing her.
Okay. You're
Okay.
right.
And
And
their whole first interaction where she's like talking to him and she's being like all cool and sassy screams Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
yeah, no, you're right. But
I'm
what
not
about
saying
that
that their
scene
little
where
interactions weren't cute. I'm not saying like that scene where they're about to have sex and then they like open up to each other emotionally and end up not having sex was beautiful.
But what about that scene where she comes storming through the window and she's like, "What the fuck? You didn't come." And he's like, "Yeah, because it's crazy raining." That just shows that she's the one who's unstable. I'm just trying to double down here. I know you're right. I know
Yeah,
you're
because
right.
Manic Pixie
You
Dream
explained
Girls
it.
are never unstable, Chad.
Damn it. Fuck.
She was only there to further the male character's like journey.
Journey. Okay, yeah, you're not wrong. Fuck.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I misinterpreted this movie.
I like I said, I thought that their scenes were very tender. Both of the actors did an incredible job. The story is so. Let's talk about the book.
Okay, let's talk about the book because I wanted like I obviously I read it a long time ago, and then I obviously heard all the stuff, the controversy that came out in like 2006 after the book came out.
A lot of it didn't happen.
Yeah, how it was mislabeled as a memoir if we're gonna give it a really nice thing. Mislabeled as a memoir, and how most of the stuff never happened, how Lily wasn't an actual person ever in existence in real life, and yeah, that's a pretty shitty thing to do. It does suck that he posed it as a memoir. I think the story still has enough
I think
gravitas.
just because a story isn't true doesn't mean you can't learn something from it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he did, well, I say quote unquote conquer his addiction, because you don't conquer that, you live with it in a better way. So I mean, he was able to do that. So whether the other stuff in it were lies, like he still was able to beat his addiction.
No, I'm not necessarily too fussed about the fact that a lot of it's made up. A lot of stories about addiction are completely made up. And a lot of movies that even like good ones about addiction are, completely fabricated. That's fine. The whole thing was just kind of lackluster. Like I don't know the shots were beautiful. Obviously Sam Taylor Johnson, who's the wife of main actor Aaron Taylor Johnson. She does amazing jobs. She always films really beautiful stuff. You'll remember her work from 50 Shades of Grey, the first one, the only good one.
Oh dang.
Well, good, as good as it could have gotten.
Yeah. Relative good.
But wow, okay. We did say even with 50 Shades that like it was a beautifully shot movie.
It really was. She did a good job.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. That's really good to know.
I think she's a great director.
Yeah, and I mean, there's those scenes with like where it blurs like reality with fiction and stuff, and like where he's in the hallway and like the walls start bleeding. That was a really cool scene. Oh, was that poop?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, even so, like
not as sexy now, is it?
Yes, Simone, because blood was just was more sexy than poop.
Well, it's not less sexy than poop, is it? I can't believe this is a discussion we get to have.
Now, if that's not a t-shirt, I don't know what is.
Well, it's not less sexy than poop.
Is that sort of our benchmark now? How sexy was it? Well, it wasn't less sexy than poop.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, I mean, look, it does... The fact that it was broached as a memoir, and I think even in the beginning of this film it says based on a true story. I mean, as we discussed the other week, based on a true story, but in movie terms is very loose. When it comes to books, it's a very different story. You expect your books to be true when they're labeled as true. And I think it was the fact that why everyone got so upset was that Oprah made it like part of her like books to read of the year, and then like made Oprah look like a liar. So it was more on like sort of Oprah trying to clear her name than on the writer just like fixing things. Yeah.
No, I don't think the problem with the movie was the fact that it wasn't true. I think it was just like, I don't understand how this movie differs at all from any other movie about drug addiction.
Yeah.
And I know every story's unique. I know, like, and if this speaks to you personally in your journey of recovery, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But this is definitely, I don't think, one of the better movies you could watch that shows a good portrayal of substance abuse.
Yeah, no, you have a really good point. I think it's just like it has no sort of grasp at sort of how long it takes to get things through, and like, actually, because obviously he's resisting half the time, but it's told in such like little snapshots that like it doesn't really show it being a process. It's sort of like, oh well, one day he's fighting it, and then the next day he softens,
and then he has like one good conversation and he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's making it seem like it's a lot easier than it actually is.
Yeah. Especially because the one guy who plays like the one therapist, he plays Bunchy as well in Ray Donovan, for whoever's watched Ray Donovan. I don't know if you've seen it.
I don't think I have, no.
Okay. Oh, the actor's name is Dash Mihawk. So he plays Bunchy Donovan. And Bunchy, like, his whole thing is he's got a serious drinking problem because of like a lot of childhood trauma, and like throughout the seasons it's him like going up and down with that, with like his weird family, and like he does such a fucking incredible job of showing like how hard it is to get out of the hole, especially like he plays someone who's got much less income, so he can't go to rehab all the time, he can't like stay in a nice facility with good therapists, like he's kind of just got to like work through it himself and have a sponsor that like maybe helps him. Like, and if you want a good portrayal of addiction, especially for addiction for people who are maybe less privileged, like that's something to look at.
Yeah, because I mean that is another aspect of this film. It's because like this facility is real nice. Yeah, like it's a top-notch facility.
Totally.
Yeah, and his parents are like paying for it and everything. So I'm not taking that away. Like addiction,
no,
whether you're poor or rich, is like
it's still a journey. It's still a struggle.
But yeah, like so I guess it like you said so long ago, it is just very lackluster. Yeah.
It's fine. I watched it. I didn't feel a lot.
Yeah. But when do you?
Look, I watched Girl Interrupted and like cried, okay?
Fair enough. Yeah, but that was a damn good film. So I guess like at this you don't really have to cry, because it's just kind of a yeah. But acting excellent. Everyone done a great job. You know,
totally.
I think that scene with like the guy who's like really clean cut. I think you
mentioned
that,
with
like,
Roy.
Clean cut guy. Yeah, and he's just like, and then he freaks out and he like loses his mind and everything, and like goes back on. Like, great work there. Excellent portrayal. Yeah, it was good. It was fine. It was fine. Yeah. I don't know if it deserved 27%. I feel like it deserved a little bit more than 27%.
At least like 40s, 50s.
Yeah,
just
easily.
for the camera work and the acting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I mean, people do weirdly enough pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes scores, which seems insane to me because the website is so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. And I mean,
we can't talk too much shit. We kind of based our podcast around their ratings, so.
That's true. But yeah, they do have like quite a grip, and I mean it can sort of influence how people hire actors in the future and stuff. And I mean, for everyone but Billy Bob Thornton, this is kind of like almost like a make or break kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough times. Do you have a scene that could have saved this?
No, I don't know. Not really. Because again, it's fine.
Yeah, to be honest, like I was sitting down to like think of scenes that could have saved this morning, and I was like, for both of these films, I have absolutely nothing, because how do you change?
Yeah.
Like a cycle.
Oh no, I have a lot of thoughts about Three Christs.
Oh really? Okay, well you can take my section on that, because I have I'm just like I can't like think of a single thing to talk about like that could have saved these psychiatric films.
Yeah. Like
they were just really strange in that respect. Yeah, so I guess, would you watch it again?
Oh God, no. Like, if I want to be sad, I want to at least be made to feel sad like really well.
Hmm. So what would you watch instead of this? Like Girl Interrupted?
Obviously, Girl Interrupted. Oh, there's a really good, I think it was like an Australian indie film, had Heath Ledger in it, so you know it's old.
Hmm.
But it's called Candy,
Okay.
and it's about this couple falling into drug addiction and like trying to cope with it. And it is hard to watch, but it's very
Really?
interesting. And obviously, it's Heath Ledger being a total powerhouse. And
As always.
yeah,
Okay.
probably watch
fair
that
enough.
again.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably watch this again, like if it was on TV.
Oh,
Like
sure.
I wouldn't actively go and like seek it out and put it on, but like if it was on TV and I was just like scrolling through and it was like this or Men in Black 2, I'd probably watch
Mhm.
this again. I'd probably just swing this on. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Also, before we move on, sorry,
Uh-huh.
can we also just mention why they don't let you fraternize with people of opposite sex
Oh,
in rehab?
I know
Jesus,
why.
it should be so fucking obvious. But yes, tell the people.
It's just because like you're going through a really tough time, so you tend to try and form like romantic attachments with people who are going through a very similar tough time with you. And then
Yes.
people hinge their whole recovery on this other person as opposed to
Yes.
hinging it just on themselves. So you don't want to go through recovery being entirely codependent on someone, obviously, because it's super unhealthy. Um, so they don't want people to form romantic attachments. They want them to focus inwards, just like on
Mhm.
themselves, work on themselves, and not be trying to support this other person who's supporting them, because like it's not going to be a sustainable recovery then. Is the
Exactly.
thinking.
It's completely codependent, and
Yeah.
that's just never good. And I think it's also a good life lesson just in
Mm.
general. Don't hinge your entire sort of life
Yeah.
on someone else, especially if you're going through a bit of a rough patch.
Yeah.
Bad move.
Yeah.
Bad move.
It helps to be in a really good headspace before you start trying to date around.
Exactly. Love yourself before you
Yeah.
can love others. That's a good sort
Yeah.
of base rule, and you heard it first here from your psychologist friends, Simone and Chad.
When you know what you want and how you want to be treated, you'll find someone who treats you the way you want to be treated.
Exactly. You attract the love you deserve.
Mhm.
So attract the best of you. You guys are great.
Yeah,
So
you
find someone
deserve
who's equally as great.
unconditional love.
Exactly. That's a good way to leave a
I
million
think
little
so.
pieces behind. So tell me about not one, not two, but three Christs.
I didn't write a synopsis for this because
How could you?
nothing happens.
No, nothing happens.
Like,
What were you gonna
there's the
say?
whole middle bit and then there's the end. I don't know.
It's an introductory and conclusory sandwich, and there's just like shit that happens in the middle.
It really is just, okay, very specific, but here we go. So, Dr. Alan Stone, played by Richard Gere, is a psychologist in the 1950s. This is a time where talking therapy or psychotherapy wasn't super popular in psychology yet. Usually treatments involved locking people up, shock therapy, lobotomies, and very rudimentary drugs. Dr. Stone's focus is on paranoid schizophrenics, specifically ones with identity disorders. So when the facility that he's working at has two patients who believe that they are Jesus Christ, Joseph, played by Peter Dinklage, and Clyde, played by Bradley Whitford, Dr. Stone is very excited, and he wants to find another patient in Michigan who would also think that he's Jesus Christ, and he finds Leon, played by Walton Goggins. Along with his assistant Becky, played by Charlotte Hope, they launch an experiment together where they put these three Jesus Christs in the same room and see how the logical loopholes that they jump through trying to justify how there can be three of them, how one says the other two aren't worthy of being Jesus Christ, or how they couldn't be Jesus Christ, and basically tries to treat them in like a weird group therapy. Obviously, his methods are frowned upon. Specifically because he starts writing letters to them, pretending to be the head of the institution, Dr. Orbis, played by Kevin Pollak, and pretending to be various other characters or authority figures in their lives in an attempt to give them suggestions to improve. Fortunately, this actually starts working for some of them until it works too well, and Dr. Orbis suddenly wants to get much more involved in the study. It throws everything out of balance, eventually resulting in Dr. Stone being kicked out of the institution and Joseph committing suicide. When there's a hearing, everybody sides with Dr. Stone, sees the good work he's doing, wants him to continue with his studies and experiments, and that's the end.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, tell me, of the plethora of words that were in this script, what's your cliffhanger?
So it's gonna be this one, which is just their first meeting, and they're all like yelling at each other. Just any clip from that, because Chad, this movie should be so interesting. This movie should be
right,
so fascinating, and yet all of the scenes with the three Christs and Richard Gere in one room felt like a high school play.
Yeah, it really, really did. You've got some high power actors in this.
Incredible actors.
And it is genuinely wasted. Like, it feels wasted from start to finish. Like, if you ask me now what any of their chats were about, I wouldn't really be able to tell you, because it's just so boring, and it just goes on.
So boring. I think it's trying to be subtle, or like not super overt, but like it just becomes so boring. And then I think the other problem is that their main focus is they're viewing the whole movie through like the eyes of Dr. Stone, but he's not the most interesting character to follow. Like, I just want to see these three guys. Like, to me, the psychologist is completely irrelevant. And they're adding in all this extra shit about like his wife and his assistant. And I don't need that. Keep the cast small. Keep it like focused on these three super good actors playing super interesting hurt people, and like hone in, make a fucking dynamite script.
Yeah, exactly. You're so right. And I mean, look, maybe they were just trying to be sensitive because it is a true story as well. We're doing another based on a true story here with this one. And maybe they're just trying to be sensitive because, you know, mental health has become like quite a huge issue in our community now and in society now. And so maybe they're just trying to make it not come across comical almost, and try to really show sort of the benefits of what they were doing there, because let's be honest, lobotomies, not a good idea. Electroshock therapy, not a good idea.
Well, electroshock therapy is a good idea, but only in very specific situations, and certainly not as a cure-all every time someone was getting uppity.
And not a fucking punishment.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really only useful in severe cases of clinical depression, and then in a very controlled environment.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they still use it if you have like deep depression, but then it's like, you know, you're anesthetized and like you agree to the procedure and stuff, and it's actually shown really good results that last like a pretty good amount of time, where drugs and therapy have failed.
That's amazing.
The more
that's
you
really,
know.
really interesting. Yeah, that's why we're here. We're just a bastion of knowledge. That's what we do. Yeah. I mean, like, I loved the cast. I thought it was delightful. What is the sort of ethical, in my mind, there's an ethical conundrum with writing as someone else.
I had such a problem with it. Like, they make it sound like, oh, he was just doing what was best for them, but he didn't actually know. And to my knowledge, I'm obviously not a psychologist or anything, but to my knowledge, from what I've read, and I stand to be corrected, is you never indulge someone's fantasies about themselves. Like, if someone thinks, for example, that they're hearing voices in their heads or that they have multiple personalities, you never encourage that. Because you don't want them to lean into it, or you don't want to reinforce the fantasy. And when he talks to them one-on-one, he does a really good job of that. He does a really good job of calling them by their first names and being like, no, how could you possibly be Jesus? And then the letters, like, I understand. I think his whole thing was like he wanted them to have like some authority figure to refer to. But you shouldn't lie to your patients.
You shouldn't lie to your patients, for one. And then, if this was an experiment in the true sense of the word, what is your control? Where is your control? You've just given all three of these guys the exact same opportunity. You have no control. You have no sort of placebo to see the difference. You are literally just like, today I'll just fuck with their minds a little bit more because, you know, I can.
and I'll give my assistant fucking LSD, so that she understands what it's like to not trust your brain, this poor girl. And then there's like a whole side plot kind of with his wife, where like
Yeah.
in a scene halfway through, it turns out she has a drinking problem, but there's been no indication of that the whole time. She just like hung out with her friends and got a little hammered. And
Yeah.
he's like, you need to stop doing this. And you're like, she's been doing this?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what, like when he said that, when he's like, you need to stop this, I was like, what has she been doing?
Yeah,
She
I was
just
like,
had
I
some
hope
fun,
Marcus
like,
hasn't
what?
like gotten a little lit hanging out with her friends and come home like a little bit.
If you're not, like, if you're coming home sober, I know something's gone wrong. Like,
Yeah. Like, oh, did you not have a good time?
exactly. So yeah, it just, yeah, it felt like it had been watered down. This whole film felt like it had been watered down.
Yeah. And like no, but like and also like there's just no like real continuity, because I think
Mhm.
what they were also trying to allude to was like this blurred lines where he's too involved in the case, and he at one point refers to the four Christs, obviously the fourth one like being himself, because he
Him,
has like
yeah.
a savior complex, but there's been no indication of that. There's no
Yeah.
real indication that he has a savior complex or that he thinks that he's like Jesus Christ somehow. And like you're just supposed to be like, oh, that's really insightful. I see it. Like you
Mhm.
don't. It's not. They're just telling you. They're just telling you like, oh yeah, he's totally one of the Christ. And you're like, I guess. Just like they tell you, oh, his wife has a drinking problem. And you're like, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and if it wasn't like that bit where Peter Dinklage jumps out the window, if that wasn't so obvious that it was coming, like any human being was just like, yeah, this dude is full on gonna jump out that window. As soon as he was like, oh, can I
Totally.
speak to you in private? I was just like, yeah, that's gonna happen. He's gonna jump
Yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah. Like,
And that didn't actually happen in real life. I don't think
Oh,
any of
did
his
it not?
patients killed himself. No.
oh,
The rest was fairly accurate, like all the letter writing and stuff and all the issues
Okay.
they had with it. Like that was all accurate, but no, his patient didn't kill himself. They just needed to make the movie interesting somehow. It was
They
cheap.
failed.
And then at the very end, where he reveals that his name's like not Dr. Stone, he's Dr. Stein because he escaped Nazi Germany.
Mm.
But you're like this doesn't actually explain anything, dude. Like it's not making me go like, oh, that's why he's like this. You're just like,
Yeah.
okay, like
Yeah.
cool story. Sorry for you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't
it
explain
adds
anything about his
nothing.
character. There's no indication that like it's affected him at all.
Yeah. Even that bit where the wife is chatting to the student, to the
Assistant,
intern,
yeah.
to the assistant, and she's just like, I was once the assistant, and I fell in love with him because he was so handsome. I was like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here, but also she was not coming on to him and he was not coming on to her at all. A very clear and concise conversation would have just solved this issue.
And
Why are you
especially
trying to
like
build tension?
because his wife starts off being this like really cool, educated, smart,
Yeah.
secure woman, and then they just take a hard right with her character, I
Yeah.
assume for the drama, and suddenly she's like the slightly jealous, drunk woman because there's this younger assistant here. Like
Yeah.
if
No,
you're gonna be
absolutely.
shitty with the wife's character, just don't include her.
Exactly. And it goes back to what you were saying about following Dr. Stone, because he is the most boring of all the characters
Yeah.
in this. So
Even if we
yeah,
followed fucking Becky, I would have found it more interesting.
exactly. Oh, how good would that movie be?
Yeah.
A young female in a male-dominated field?
Yeah,
Yeah.
working for this fucking crazy doctor that nobody believes in, and like with these patients that like say uncomfortable shit to her all the time.
Yeah.
And also they imply that she's a rape survivor, so
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, she's like dealing with that and like being made uncomfortable by these men and coping with like that's interesting.
And it's just like 5 minutes of her, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we
Pretty
get
much.
from Becky. Yeah, no, it was a shame. And I mean, thinking about it, because I've always wanted them to make a movie about the Harvard computers. You know, the fire for our
That's
listeners who don't
that's
know.
your baby.
That's my baby. I love them. For those of our listeners who don't know who they are, they're like these 12 badass fucking women who were part of Harvard and like the astronomy section of Harvard, and like discovered planets and shit, but never got any sort of credit for it because they were women during that time. And so the men in the department all got the credit, and it's
Yeah.
these like fucking cool women who have like these
Mhm.
crazy histories of being like cleaners and teaching themselves, and their husbands dying and their husbands beating them, and they're just awesome. And now after seeing this, it does worry me that if they did
Yeah.
make a Harvard Computers movie, it would just be as boring as this.
Well, remember how good Hidden Figures was.
That is true. Yeah.
So if it's anything like Hidden Figures, I'm there for it. But if it's anything like Three Christs, I am not.
Yeah. And I think this is just another one of those movies. It's another one of those cases, very much like Brightburn, where the concept sounds like
Yeah.
it should be fucking wicked, and then
And
it
the
just fails.
cast.
And the cast. Ah, what a cast. Peter Dinklage. What can you say? What can you say with the gentlemen and the females in this movie? Just amazing.
Well,
Heartbreaking.
and yet, I don't know,
And
the
yet.
whole thing was so strange because like all the scenes felt so jarring and disjointed moving
Mhm.
between them. The camera work was really strange where like you'll have one guy sort of like up to like mid body in frame, and then the next shot is like a close up of Peter Dinklage, even though like in theory they should be on the same like I don't know, visual level kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like the directing is so jarring and weird, and like the angles, you're like, is this really like the most interesting way you could have shot this? Or like, and I usually don't notice stuff like that, but I was like, but I noticed it here. And then
Yeah,
the
because there was
soundtrack
nothing
was
else to
also like didn't match a lot of the scenes that
No. It was a mess. It was a
total
proper
mess.
mess. And
it did
you
better
know,
than A Million Little Pieces,
and
which I think is wrong.
Yeah. Objectively speaking, A Million Little Pieces is a far better film than this, I reckon.
Definitely. In
And
terms
even
of visual like storytelling alone.
yeah, and that's really funny as well because, you know, in terms of an actual story, this should have been
It
better.
should have been so much
It
better.
really should have been. Oh, damn it. So, is there a scene that could have saved this? Talk to me about that. Apart from what we said about Becky being the
Yeah.
protagonist.
Well, so the scene that could have saved it kind of links up with that. It's the scene where
Okay.
she's chatting one-on-one with what's his face? Leon, I want to say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a great scene.
And he's
Yeah, yeah.
talking like he levels with her about how he was raped when he was in the army. And like she just starts crying and he realizes that she's a victim of rape too. And it's just the only beautiful, emotionally meaningful, wonderful scene in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just those two actors working together was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that guy, I don't know who the actor is, but
I'll tell you right now.
yeah.
It is Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins doesn't do like a lot of sort of heavy stuff, and like he's usually just like a character role, and he does like comedy roles. But
Yeah,
he was actually
in
amazing.
Hateful Eight.
Mm.
He's in Justified, just for our fans or the listeners.
That one person who's seen Justified.
My mom used to love Justified. I think it's more that generation.
Right.
He was in LA Confidential. He was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, so he does like little bit parts and stuff.
Yeah.
But he is clearly a fantastic actor, and you know he did shine in this. I would say of the three Christs, even though Peter
was
Dinklage is
fantastic.
amazing, but he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
I was really
definitely.
Yeah.
I think they really underplayed the third Christ. Clyde, played by Bradley Whitford, the one who was obsessed with like being clean. And like the smell, because he had probably one of the more tragic backstories.
Oh yeah.
With his wife, like the fetus like dying inside of her, and the smell, and like, I mean, that's a horrible thing that doesn't happen as much anymore. But like, they kind of throw him to the wayside for the other two.
They really do. And he had such a like that bit where he like comes out the shower and like he's thinking about not going back into the shower because of the letter, and then he does it, and it's like tragic and beautiful, and yeah.
These actors could have done so much more if they'd been given a better script and better direction. And this is such a waste.
Yeah. I want them to remake it in a couple years when
Same cast.
Same cast.
Different director.
Maybe not so much of the wife. She's just mentioned in passing.
No.
So would you watch it again? I know the answer, but
Dude,
you
I
watch
fell
again?
asleep watching it the first time.
Man,
I mean, admittedly, I was very tired, but
Yeah.
like, I couldn't. Nothing happens, Chad.
No, it's a rice cake of a movie. It's so boring. You just get your way through it, and you know it's good for you because you're learning something, but
Kind of.
that doesn't make you want to eat it anymore.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
understand that the work being done in that case was very critical to like introducing the idea of more psychotherapy for patients and things like
Yeah.
that. Like I get it and I appreciate the history, but like it could have been better.
It could have been much, much better. Okay, well, thank you, Simone. And hey, look, we made it through.
We've done it.
We've done it. Do you feel wiser? Do you feel more empowered, more empathetic to your fellow man?
I mean, now I just feel like kind of a cold bitch, Chad.
Look, and that's why you would have been a great psychiatrist, because you would have just been dead inside and not had any effect from them.
Thanks, Chad.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Just because I compartmentalize very well.
To be fair, at the top of the episode, I was gonna say you would have made a really good psychiatrist, but it would have been a very short career because you're quite empathetic, and so I think you would have taken it on a lot. But I think it would have made you a really good psychiatrist.
I don't know if it would have been like out of empathy or just like obviously I'm very sympathetic to the plight of anyone struggling from mental illness. Like I also struggle a lot with anxiety personally, but I also like find myself very impatient sometimes, and I don't know if I have like the pure like patience and like I guess education to very patiently listen to people week after week. I think I get empathy fatigue very quickly.
Right. Okay.
Which is
fair
a real
enough.
thing.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. Fair enough. Well, I mean, look, you got into the right career then.
Market research, where I ask people their highest level feelings. Did you like it, didn't you? Tell me why, very briefly.
I cannot stress enough how briefly.
Well, slightly off topic, but my interns were rewatching videos of research that we'd been doing, and it's eye tracking research. So we like send people into a store and like see what catches their gaze and how they navigate the store and stuff without going into too much detail about the client. And this person like brings back, we were asking them to shop for a certain product, and they bring back the product and they're like, this is my favorite one. And very clearly in the video, because like we don't need to know their favorites, very clear in the video, I'm like, cool, I'll make a note. It turns out it was like the bitchiest, sassiest shit.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Great,
oh, man.
awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for letting us know. We'll put that in the relevant category of information.
This is me making a note.
Oh no. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that piece of yourself with us. I promise you, Simone does feel, dear listeners.
I feel feelings.
She
just
has
don't
real
like talking
feelings
about them.
Watch her watch The Notebook, and you'll see all the feels. She's a mess when she watches The Notebook.
And I'm never watching Dumbo again because it made me I'm like tearing up just thinking about Dumbo.
Oh man, that was a left corner really. That no one saw that coming for us for Dumbo.
Jesus, I was not ready. Rudy has never seen me cry that hard.
Oh man, that's ridiculous. I often think about that night that we all watched The Notebook together on that girls' night, and we were just puking violently from that red wine.
We drank so much box wine, Chad.
Oh, that was a wrong night. And I often I'll sit down and anyone just needs to mention the Notebook, and I immediately think of that night and how wonderful it was. Yeah.
I actually forced Rudy to watch The Notebook recently because I was you need to understand me emotionally.
What did he think?
He liked it. He cried. Rudy's a lot more sensitive than I am actually, which I love. He's very open with his emotions.
At least there's one of you.
Fuck you.
Hey, I wear my heart
Rudy did
on
have to put a lot of legwork in with me.
You know me. I just wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't even have my heart anymore. I just pass it out to any random stranger.
A million little pieces, eh?
Yeah. Hey. Bringing it back. I love it. Bwah, bwah, bwah.
Oh god.
Oh God. Okay. So Simone, what are we doing next week? Do you
Chad, I
have
have an
any
idea.
Because the next time you don't have an idea, we're doing movies that people think are good that are terrible. I'm just warning you now.
I've got so many ideas, luckily. So this is a Rudy idea, though. Shark Week. Movies about sharks.
Yes, I'm so
Yes.
in. I love sharks.
I found a really, hang on. Worst.
Well, I mean,
I
we
found
gotta
one
do
and then I
something.
forgot. Obviously, we have to do one of the Sharknadoes, right?
Obviously, should we just do the first? Well, how well?
Oh, the one was The Meg that came out last year.
Yes, yes. Let's do the Meg.
The Meg, and then the other one I think was Sharknado versus some octopus.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Oh, here, best shark movies ranked by Tomato Meter. But yeah, we'll do the Meg, and we can do Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
That sounds amazing. Mega.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yes. Giant octopus.
Yes.
How
Mega Shark
exciting.
versus Giant Octopus is a movie that we're gonna watch from 2009.
Ooh, interesting. The naughties. Always a good sign.
Love the fashion.
Oh, beautiful.
Love the way they treat women.
Oh, we're gonna have so much fun. As this is post Bush as well, so this is a Obama era movie.
Bold new world.
Yeah. Should I intro it again?
Yeah.
So Simone, what are we doing next week?
Chad, next week. This is a theme that I didn't even know we would ever do, but Rudy's recommended it, and I am so on board. We're doing Shark Week.
Oh, I'm so excited. I cannot believe we are doing a
Movies
Shark Week.
about sharks. And
Sharks.
also, from me, obviously, a lot of very educated rants about how sharks are our friends.
Yes, no,
And
definitely.
we should not fear them, and we should really advocate against shark fin soup and the shark fin trade in China because it's horrible and inhumane.
It really, really is. And we will present you with so many stats. It's going to be so
Oh
boring,
my
you
God,
guys.
It's
We're
going to be
ready.
so preachy.
You're going to hate it, but we're going to love it. So, Simone, what movies are we going to do?
We're going to have so much fun because we are doing Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, two of my favorite animals. And we are doing The Meg.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to see Jason Statham doing some Jason Stathaming all over the stage.
Our listeners can't tell, but the people watching us on YouTube can see my fists like clenched in excitement.
Little excited fists.
Tiny,
excited
ineffectual fists.
It's what I love about ineffectual fists is the little thumbs that come out. Useless little thumbs. What are those guys doing?
Well, you can't put your thumbs on the inside. That's how you break your thumbs if you punch someone.
That is true.
That's what my dad taught me.
That's what I always taught my students as well. That's what you got to do.
Also,
so what would you prefer? What would you prefer to do, the Meg or Mega Shark?
Oh, I want to do Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus because octopi are some of my favorite animals.
Fair enough.
And I hope it wins. No.
It won't, but I'm sure. I hope it does.
I'm sure the shark will win. But octopi are so clever. They're smarter than dogs.
They are. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant
I love them.
animals.
That's why I can't eat them anymore.
Fair. That is fair.
They're too
Well, yeah. We'll get into it. You can have some sad times next time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, cool. I'm excited because I love Jason Statham is one of my favorite animals. So I'm
the
really
strongest
excited.
white man in the world. Not true. Fake fact.
No, it's a fact now. We'll put it on a shirt. Right, so tell me, what is your optimistic thing of the week?
My optimistic thing this week. Oh, so as you know, Rudy has a business where he makes offset smokers. So smokers, like how you'd smoke meat and stuff to cook with. And yesterday we decided to try out a whole vegetarian feast on it.
Ooh, okay.
To see how different like veggies and stuff smoke. And it went really well. We tried aubergines, and I made baba ganoush, but also had like whole smoked aubergine, which was delicious. We tried peppers, we tried potatoes, we tried garlic, we tried onions. It was fantastic. Everybody was so on board with it who arrived. It was really fun, and I think it's the first time I've been to a braai and like been able to eat every single thing on the table.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah, it was really fun. We tried tofu, we tried everything.
That's so good, and it worked perfectly. Like everything tasted
Yeah,
amazing.
there were some like things like, you know,
Yeah,
I think
obviously.
having a whole meal that's been smoked is a bit much.
yeah.
But yeah,
No
no,
doubt.
there were like one or two things where we're like, okay, we do this differently next time, but it was really handy and really helpful.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. We should definitely link to it so people can go and.
Oh
you know,
yeah.
check it out.
I'm gonna write the blog for Rudy's website, so when it's up, I'll post it.
Excellent.
It's real fun.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, and what's your optimistic thing?
Simone, it's a blast from the past, but I was thinking about it. I've thought about it a lot this week.
Okay.
But I'm so unbelievably happy to be alive in a time that the Fire Festival happened. Like, this whole week, you know, I've just been thinking back, and I've just been thinking, what an amazing time to be alive,
Yeah.
where a whole bunch of rich people were duped out of so much money. And you know what? I'm sure it's happened in the past. It often does happen, and there are often blunders throughout history. But I am so happy to be
We
alive
got to watch that
now.
in real time.
Yeah.
I got to watch the documentaries, and I had full-on anxiety the whole time because unorganized events upset me.
Right? And
And
it's
it was
just
so wildly entertaining. Ja Rule is there. They keep like being like, "Oh yeah, we made all these rash decisions. Haha, don't know why." And nobody says cocaine, even though that's clearly the
That's
reason
clearly
behind
what
like
it was.
80% of this.
Yeah, if you wanna, that's the thing. When we eventually do have kids, like we're just gonna show them the dangers of cocaine by just showing them the Fire Festival. Kids, this is what cocaine does. This
Yeah.
could be your life.
Cocaine
Yeah.
and male privilege.
And white male privilege. But yeah, I'm just really thankful to be able to look back in my memory and go, you remember that Fire Festival that one of the most renowned and best businessmen of all time almost had to suck dick in order to get this thing
my
off the
God.
ground?
That poor guy.
I feel so bad for him because words, just so many words.
Yikes on bikes.
Yeah, so that's my optimistic thing, being alive during that.
You know what? Fair enough, Chad.
Yeah.
So that's the end of this episode.
You were gonna go for it, and you were just like, no, not my territory. I can't do that.
No, it's you. You're the closer.
I'm the closer. You do the
The
socials.
social media. Yeah.
That's the
But
rules.
you
If could
bring it
switch
home.
Yeah.
I tried to do it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so out of my element.
It's scary when we try to switch things,
It's
right?
horrible.
It's
I
not
hate
fun.
it.
No, but there's a symbiotic relationship here. We
Yeah.
can't break it.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. What are your optimistic things for this week or for this month? You know, it's a brand new year, 2020. What are you looking forward to as we go into the future? What are you leaving behind in January, the longest month of the year, it would seem, that you're so happy to be leaving behind? And you know, while you're telling us all these things, why not share it with the people you love? Tell your family, tell your aunts and uncles, tell anyone who listens to podcasts, even people who don't listen to podcasts. Show them what a podcast is with our very nice, friendly episodes. And where can the people share the love with us, Simone?
They can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Fresh Tomatoes Podcast, on Twitter at Fresh Tomatoes MP. They can email us at freshtomatoespodcast@gmail.com. They can check out our YouTube channel, which is going to be linked in the footnotes. And they can hang out with us on Discord.
Boom. And guys, please leave us a review and a rating. It really does help. I mean, you hear it from all your podcast people. You know how much it helps. Just, 5 minutes of your day. That's all we're asking. And as we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Goodbye.
Bye.